I get asked a lot why I'm so hell-bent on changing the coaching industry, because it would be a lot easier for me as the founder of Procedure 360, a coach training academy, to just follow the herd and do what everybody else does, do what's expected. Maybe I'd get more clients that way, who knows. But you see, when I was maybe in my early 20s, I got a job as a lean consultant. It's got nothing to do with being lean from a weight perspective. It's all about improving what's already there and making it better. And it means that you question everything that exists and not just accept that it's there because it's always been there. And one of the things that would happen when I'd go into different organisations to challenge the way that they were working is people would say, well, it's like this because we've always done it that way. And I think the same is true about the coaching industry. It's like it is because it's always been that way. The trouble with that, though, is a lot of the things that we are teaching in coaching are deriving back to a time that we're actually trying to move away from. A lot of the models were created in the 70s and 80s by people who had a different style of leadership. We talk about command and control a lot in a leadership capacity, and that's where, do as I say and not as I do, and do it my way or the highway, and the leader is in charge and the people who work for the leader don't have their say. And times have changed. But not only have times changed from that perspective, they've also changed from the point of view of what we are exposed to. There is so much more pressure on us now to be, do and have more than we ever have before. There is a lot of opportunity for comparison. We are exposed to different stressors in a way that we just weren't when coaching was designed back in the 70s and 80s. And so for me, it's really important to ask why. Ask why is it still the way that it is? And when I was asking that question, having gone through coaching myself and being really frustrated with coaches just asking me question after question and, staring over their glasses and holding long silences and all the ridiculousness that we teach coaches to do, I was just uber frustrated because my challenges weren't coming from setting a goal and moving towards the goal. My challenges were coming from within. What was happening in here in terms of the inner critic, and what was happening in my body in terms of the nervous system. So when I decided that I was going to leave my 6-figure career in corporate back in 2018, and I started training as a coach, I was trained in the traditional style, and I thought, there's got to be something else than this, because I could tell that wasn't going to help my clients to move forward. And so I decided to train in therapy and different therapeutic modalities, and I was frustrated there as well because there was no end-to-end joining up. So we've got these 1970s and 80s processes wrapped up in a non-directive questioning style over here in coaching. In therapeutic modalities, we have everything from smoke and mirrors, NLP style coaching, to Ho'oponopono, which is deeply spiritual, to psychotherapy, which, helps to a certain extent, but there isn't any point beyond the therapy to help the client move forward. So the whole thing felt very fractional, felt very disjointed. And when I put myself in the client's shoes, didn't feel like they were getting the best deal. They would have to work with 2 or 3 different people in order to solve some of the challenges that they have. So we've got this disjointed approach between therapy and coaching, and then we've got mentoring as well. Then we have this group of people. I call them the silent middle. It's a term that I've coined for a group of people who on the outside appear fine, but on the inside are anything but. People like me when I was in corporate, you know, holding down a really challenging job with tons of responsibility for many people, holding down a family, which, you know, you've got au pairs to look after your children because you're so busy with work, and that brings a whole level of guilt. You're trying to have the perfect home and keep up with the Joneses and the best car and all of that jazz. And all the while on the inside, you're feeling like you're not good enough, but you're not on the brink. So you're not the type of person who will access mental health provision through your GP or through the hospital because you're not diagnosed with mental health conditions. But that doesn't mean that you're okay. And the trouble with coaching is it exacerbates for the silent middle the idea that they have to do, be, or have more. Because it's all about, where are you now? Where do you want to get to that's different to where you are now? And often that's an elevation from where you are now. And that just creates even more pressure to do, be, or have more. So for me, I thought, what do we do to help the silent middle? Well, what we have to do first is understand all of the constraints that they have, all of the ways of working happening in here. And I identified through lots of studying that the brain works in a very mysterious way. And actually, there are two things that really hold us back. The first one is events that have happened to us previously, usually in childhood, that are carrying an imprint. They're a bit like landmines, where if, you know, you stepped on a landmine, God forbid, but if you did, it would, you know, it would blow, wouldn't it? And you have these landmines in your brain. Everyone does. Doesn't matter what's happened to you along the way. We've all got them. And these landmines are being stepped on as you experience life today. You might be in a meeting and someone looks at you a certain way, or you might be having a conversation with your partner and they say something that you take as a criticism. And experiences from age 7 and 8 when you were little are being triggered by the here and now. And so we have to find those landmine events and we have to neutralize them so that the body isn't going into boom mode. It's not going into fight, flight, freeze or defensive rage, which you are then, as a silent middle performer, needing to push down. When we're trying to push it down and cover it up, we end up putting a mask on. And that's the pretender model from Procedure, the pretender masks that cover up who we are. So our first issue is we've got to find those moments in history and neutralize those landmines. We've got to take the charge pin out. The other thing that hampers us is that we have what I call unhelpful perspectives. Some might call them limiting beliefs. I call them unhelpful perspectives because they derive from moments in our past where we were in a situation with a child brain where we gave a meaning to a situation that perhaps wasn't strictly true. So it might be, you know, you run up to your mum with a painting that you've done and your mum's in the middle of something, so it doesn't give you lots of love and enthusiasm about your painting. And in that moment, you make that mean that you don't matter because there is no love or attention being given to this thing that you are super proud of. And because you don't matter, you then make a decision that you have to try really hard to gain the approval from your parent. But that then extends to gaining approval from everyone, and you become a complete people pleaser. You put the people pleaser mask on, and that's how you spend your life. So as well as finding our landmine moments, we also have to find the unhelpful perspectives that we formed with our child brain and do the work to change those perspectives in the moment when they happened. Now that all might sound like, it's a bit therapeutic, that, and it is therapeutic, but in a very solution-focused way. And that's what I feel needs to come into the coaching room in a way that it doesn't at the moment. So at Procedure, what we do is we blend that style of therapeutic insight where we are going and finding the key moments in time and changing them such that you can start to affect the behaviour today. And what that then allows you to do is to take the masks off that have been aiding those unhelpful perspectives and covering up the landmine responses, you can take those masks off and actually start to look at who are you underneath. And from that perspective, all of those things that coaching would have been having you doing, like do, be, and have more, become less relevant because you're less bothered about keeping up with the Joneses. You're less bothered about the next promotion because you're not living your life in a should way for other people. You start to shift into the real you and the things that are important to you. So for me, coaching has to change because it's not 1970s and 80s anymore. We do need to challenge the way that it's always been done and start to do it differently. And we really need to recognise what's driving human behaviour. And none of that is about goal setting. So the whole thing needs turning on its head. And I am the one at the moment that is being brave enough to do it. It takes a lot of work, let me tell you, to bring together this sort of methodology, test it. I've tested it for 6,000 hours, so I know that it works. And then pull it into something that is teachable to other people. And we've now had 80 practitioners through our training at advanced practitioner level, and they are out there creating these outcomes for their clients. So it definitely works, and it is absolutely worth challenging. You know, we need more challengers in this world, less people who just accept the way things have always been, and more people who will put their head above the parapet and say, actually, it's time for change. We do not want to continue creating the challenges that we've had in the past around control and command and leadership. We do not want the pressures that we put on people and ourselves to do, be, and have more. If you want those things, great, but make sure they're coming from the real version of you. Come and check us out at Poseda, because honestly, if you're a coach or you're thinking about becoming one, our method will totally change the game for you and for your clients.